Hi there, it's Crafting with Brandy. I wanted to do a fall craft that uses up some pieces that I have here at the house. I was doing some other crafts, some orders that I needed to fill, and I found that I had some of this burlap and this, and I had a big stack of black paper, and so I thought, my front parlor has these colors, this teal and some bright aqua and some yellow, and I thought that I needed a few little fall pieces to go out there, and it wasn't going to be the traditional orange, whites, browns, yellows, so I thought this one might work. So I'm going to try it out. So according to the different, I've watched quite a few, and I'm just going to kind of do my own version, accumulation of the other. You cut that off, and then I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to put a top on it. I'm going to cover it in this black craft paper, and then I'm going to cover it in burlap and create a cute little topper for it. So that's essentially all I'm going to do. I'm going to use my scissors and my glue gun and a lot of ripping and tearing. You want to use duct tape to try and hold the top on. So if you're going to put this outside, you would actually want to use burlap as well as like actual sticks and twigs for the top. If you're going to leave it inside like I am, then I mean you can use, I'm going to use yarn or some type of fabric for the topper. Also, if you're putting it outside, you probably want to put heavy rocks in the bottom of it, but I'm not doing that. I'm just leaving it inside the house, so I'm not going to worry about that, but I am going to fill it a little bit. This is just packing paper from Amazon package, and I'm just going to put this in there just to give it a little bit of weight, and to get rid of this packing paper. So I'm going to put a couple pieces of that inside. And then I happen to have leftover plates. These have googly eyeballs from Halloween. So I had that one, and I thought that was a good size. And you're doing this so that the top doesn't so that you have something to attach things to, so the top doesn't fall down out of the weight of whatever you put on top. So I'm just going to put this in and to give it a nice pumpkin shape like that. Okay, then you want to put this on. But I also learned, you see how it has a lip and it kind of sticks up? Well, you don't want that lip. So you're actually going to cut it just inside just a little bit so that it lays smooth, and then we're going to tape that down. Now when it sits on, we're going to tape it. It's going to lay down more smoothly. And it'll be a little flat on top, so it'll be great for putting a stem, some leaves, and a bow across the top. Okay, so I do not have any duct tape in the house. The only kind I have is like the cute duct tape with the glitter and stuff on it, and I don't really want to waste that. So I was just going to use a little packing tape. Some people paint them black, white, cream, whatever color is going to be on there, but I happen to already have a couple of extra sheets from a school craft that we did, and I thought this would work perfectly to darken it so that when you have the black on there and then you put the burlap on, it won't show through. It'll darken it. If I were to put this directly on there, you would see the orange through it. Okay, same with white. You would see it through it. So I don't want to do that. Now I'm going to take it and cover it in black paper. So it's roughly the length of, from the top to the bottom, it is roughly the length of the side, the landscape side. So what we're going to do is cut it into strips. I originally attempted, I was just going to rip it, but then it makes it harder for coverage if you rip it. You're just going to put a dab of hot glue, oops, across the top. And actually we're going to start from the bottom, right here at this edge, and put it on there. And then we're going to work our way up. And the reason I'm going to do it that way is because I'm going to end up putting a black piece at the top. So you just kind of want to lay that flat as much as you can. These are about 2 to 3 inches wide. And then just glue it down. Kind of hold that for a second. So I like to do things quickly because I have lots of things to do, and I have little children, and you never know when they're going to be like, nope, don't want to do this anymore. So I'm just going to kind of glue my strips from the bottom So now I'm going back with the smaller pieces, and I'm just going to pull in these little gaps that I have here. And that one I put like the strip of glue all the way the length of it, just to kind of help pull in that little curve. You know, pumpkins aren't perfect. They're lumpy, right? They are lumpy. Now, we will be more detailed when we do the burlap on the outside. In particular, you know, they usually use like an orange or green, which I do have those colors, but I have this burlap, which I think is really cute. It's left over, and I have 2 rolls of it. I think it was gifted to me. We're going to do a couple more skinny strips. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. If you were doing this with a little person, that would be cute. That would be cute if they did it in little scraps of paper and then you let them paint their handprints or something on it. I think that would be a really cute craft. So on the top and the bottom, we're going to put a circle of black. You remember when I cut this piece off? I'm kind of using that as a little template so I know how big it is. I'm just kind of holding it in place. So I kind of know about how big I want my circles to be, because I know that that covered the top and the bottom. So like I said, I used this on the black paper just to kind of see how big I wanted it to be. But if you remember, that kind of came over the edge. So I thought that was a little too large. So I just folded it in half once I cut the circle and just made a nice clean cut. And that will fit right at the top. So we're going to add some glue to that. We're going to do one at the top and the bottom. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And just push that on to make sure the paper stays. And then we're going to do another here, little swirls, and stick it there. So now you have a fully covered black pumpkin. Okay, so now we have the burlap, and here's a piece that apparently I was originally going to make into a bow or something. So we're going to take that. Sorry, I have to have my workspace organized. And it's going to lay. So you have to decide, okay, in the middle of each, there's a peak. The peaks go either 2 up and 1 down in the middle, or do you want it the other way? And personally, I like it better that way. So I'm going to attempt to line them up. Okay, this is wired burlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it at the top, and I'm going to glue it, and then I'm going to pull it as hard as I can down to the bottom so it's nice and taut, and then I'm going to cut it there. And I will continue to cut pieces, and I'm going to attempt to line up the chevron. Now I know there'll still be this edge line in between each one, but I think it'll look prettier if they're lined up. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the first one. I'm going to glue it really well. And I am going to put it over, and you've got to remember, I did not. Burlap has holes in it, so when you go push down that glue, buddy, it's coming through. It's going to get your hand. So stick it on there. Let it cool for a second. Okay. That's going to be covered up, so you needn't worry that the little beads of glue that just singed my fingers are coming through the top, because that's going to be covered up with another piece at the top. Okay, and we're going to put a centerpiece on there. We're going to put the little stem and some leaves and probably a bow of some sort. Okay, so then you're going to pull that as tight as you can get it. It's going to go to the center of the bottom. Okay, and this will also have a covered piece across the bottom, similar to this black piece that we put on. So we're going to add glue to that. You can use ribbon, burlap, pretty much whatever you like. Just the key is pull it tight when you do it. Pull it tight. Okay? And I'm just putting my fingers on the 2 sides so that I don't burn the snot out of my hand. We're going to save this little scrap of piece because we might use that for something. You know, we might use that to create some type of little tails or something like this, a little tail to a bow that can go across the top. So that would be a perfect little piece for a tail. We'll just cut it on an angle. So we're going to continue to lay these pieces, and I'm going to cut them and lay them, and I'm going to move them up and down so that the chevron, see how it lines up? And that's going to be precious. Precious. So I might actually move this one up a little bit so that I should have in the very first one gone all the way to the center, and I didn't. So you see how it stops here? I should have gone to the center. But I think by the time I make my way around, I will have covered up my little mistake there. You can always cover up a mistake. The wonders of hot glue. Now, when you do these, you do want, it's not going to be like you're going to go back with the, like you did with the black paper. You have to cover the edges of these. Okay, so I'm going to go right about there. I'm going to hold that down. Let that dry for a second. I'll let that dry. My hands are in the way. Okay. And then I'm going to pull it, and you see the chevron is matched up. I'm going to pull it so it's all the way down on that edge. And then I'm going to cut it down here at the bottom. And I'm lucky enough that I have two spools, because I really do think you're going to need at least 1.5. We'll see once we're done. And I don't know how much I've already used of the first spool. So, okay, that's down. And that's our first overlap. And we're going to continue to do that around this little guy. So with mine, because I don't have rocks inside, it's not heavier on one side or the other. So I could actually choose which direction I like better, whether I like this direction better or this direction. And I choose that I like this direction. Also at the very end, the very last piece that I put on, since it's not being held in on both sides, if you want to go ahead and put just little dabs of glue in there, you can. And then just kind of press it down. You'll notice in the fast forward video that I actually used the end of my scissors or a tool in order to press it down. That's just to salvage my hands from being burned, which they were burned quite a bit. There's a couple tricks you need to be sure you know, that you continue as you go around. Don't go in a zone and forget that you need to line up your chevrons if you're using a pattern piece. And you make sure you keep an eye on the top. You see how cute the top is? So we can choose to cover that up or not. I actually love the way the top looks. I think what I'll do is put the stem on here, and then I'll use this area that I don't like as much, and that's where I'll apply the little piece of ribbon to hide that. See how cute that's going to be? All right, so on the other side, though, it's got all these layers piled up on top of each other, and we want it to lay kind of flat. And it's covered in burlap. It needs a piece here. You could do just a piece of burlap. You could do a piece of paper, but I'm going to choose to do a piece of felt, a nice soft felt. So, because I'm planning on having it sitting on a glass table, and I want to make sure, I doubt that the burlap is going to scratch it, but I just like to have softer things on my table. So I'm going to cut out a circle the same way that I cut out the circles in paper a few minutes ago, and I'm going to place that on the bottom and hot glue it on. I'm using where I cut the black circle out earlier, and I'm using a fabric pen, and I'm just going to lightly trace that onto my piece of soft fleece. This piece is actually, I guess it is very soft fleece. It's almost as soft as minky fabric, the minky dot fabric. It's not going to be, the circle is not going to be this large. So I'm going to cut it out, and I'm not going to use my regular paper scissors. I, of course, am going to use my fabric scissors for this. I'm going to cut out my circle, and I find it easier if you go ahead and cut around and then holding it in your hand. So I'm going to cut it a little smaller than the actual circle that I drew. And then I'm going to place it on there and see if it matches up and looks good. And hopefully this will allow it to lay flat at the bottom. So get that out of the way. So this is going to just lay right here on the bottom of my pumpkin, and then my pumpkin will sit like that. So one side's actually more fuzzy than the other, so I'm putting the fuzzier side down, and the more matte side I am leaving up. And I'm trying to get the glue as close to the edge as I can so it doesn't come up. And that's actually got an extensive amount of glue because it's kind of sealing everything in. Okay. Put that on. Smooth it out. Now when I do that, I noticed immediately that I have a large pucker here. Right here. Right here. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue in there and push that down. And I'm going to kind of tuck that under. There we go. You know, it's just a craft. You just want to work with it and kind of make it your own and troubleshoot. Okay, artists, even people who craft every day like myself, they still make mistakes. They still change their mind midway through. The important thing is that you don't get frazzled or just push the project aside. Now, if you're stumped and you're like, I don't know how to do this, definitely set it aside and decide, just brainstorm it. And sometimes you'll have an epiphany, a crafting epiphany. But in this particular case, just take a breath and go, okay, hang on. How am I going to fix that? Okay. So now we got to work on the top. And again, troubleshooting how I want this to look. I'm actually going to just curl the top edge. I cut a strip of brown fleece and I bent the top edge over, just folded it over. And then working from one side, I'm just going to just roll it up, making sure that that little bit of stem doesn't come out of the middle. Roll it up. Okay, like that. Till I get the size I want. Okay, then the end of it, I'm gonna fold it over and I'm gonna glue it down. And that's gonna be the little stem on top. And then we're gonna put some decorative stuff. And the bow is actually gonna hide that fold. So I'm going to put a little glue first across the top using my stick so I don't scald my hand to kind of hold that fold down. And then a little tiny drip of glue across the edge. We're going to fold that over itself very neatly just because I don't want the raw edges showing. And then last bit of glue is going to go on that edge, a tiny stream, so that we can roll this up onto it. Always burning my fingers, even when I use the stick. Still burning my fingers. Okay, there. So you just tuck that little bit in. My stick has some glue on it, as does my finger, always. And that's going to go there. And since the bow is going to be on this side, on the front side, then I'm going to whichever side I want to be my front is where I'm going to actually put the seam instead of putting it in the back, because the bow is going to be kind of on top of there. Okay, so we're going to start by putting this piece on, just by adding a fair amount of glue. I'm going to find the section I think is the cutest, which I actually kind of love right here. Kind of love that area. Okay. Nope. There we go. And I'm going to put with my line in the front, I'm just going to kind of mush it down. Okay. Make sure it adheres really well. Okay. So now I have my felt stem. So now we have our bow on. As I said, we made the bow, attached it to the top, glued it directly to the stem. Then we added the little scrap piece we had as tails. And as you can tell, there's not a lot of delineation between the two. Now, if you wanted to, I have all these different types of ribbon. If you rather, you could have a piece of ribbon. You could actually add little strips of ribbon to that, or you could make the bow out of something like this. I mean, this I don't think is wide enough. The widest one I had prints like this, which, I mean, that could be cute if you want it to be more girly and fun. And I had different colors, but nothing that I was in love with. And I think a plain burlap would be really pretty too. But as I was up roaming around trying to find pieces, I remembered that I had some flowers, and I thought that it might look really pretty if we just added a pretty sunflower to the center. So we can add a flower here, and then I have actual green leaves and things like that, and little baby flowers, which we could pull these apart and add to the back, little leaves, and maybe some smaller flowers to the back portion, and that would look really cute. So that's what I'm going to go with. And here's actually some other little pieces that would be really pretty. Some little fall flowers. So I think we're going to go that route. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my largest flower. I'm just cutting the end off so that it would just lay flat, a little bit more flat. So just adding some glue and choosing the direction in which I want to place the flower. I think that's precious. And this has tons of leaves, different colored leaves and things on it. So we're going to pull it apart and see how these little pops of color add depth to it. See? So I think I'm going to do a little bit of red and a little bit of green on one side. Yes, absolutely. So we're going to cut these little stems off. We're just going to add glue. Hot glue is your friend. And so honestly, I don't even think I really needed the ones I made in the back. They were a cute idea, but I should, you know, sometimes you gotta roam around your craft room and find what you really want, what you really need to make a piece look great. All right, my flower came off. There's just not enough glue to hold it in place. I'm just piling it on right there. Push that in. Okay, so I got a little bit of pops of green, pop of red, and add some to the other side. Red. I like my things symmetrical. You know, you do you, but I like symmetry in my work. So add these little pieces in. I'm going underneath, and see how it already adds that extra texture that makes the bow stand out. Okay, and then in the back, we're going to do the same thing. I've been cutting this third piece off. We're going to do some leaves in the back. And then we're going to add some smaller flowers in there. I need some more leaves. This is going to add, I'm going to kind of lay it on here and show you. I think I'm going to do a large one and then 2 smaller ones on either side. Okay, so let's get those glued on. I'm going to do, I just went ahead, I had already glued down the leaves I had made, so I just left them on there even though they're kind of getting covered up by my new idea, but I wouldn't have used them for anything else anyway, so they're fine. They're fine being where they are. Okay, and then I'm going to cut these little baby ones and glue those in. Make sure that when you glue it that your the petals are out of the way. You don't want the petals to get caught up in the glue. Okay, a little here, a little there. Make sure that there's no glue strings. At the end, you're going to have to go through and get all your hot glue strings off of all of your work, because just no matter how tedious you are and how much you try to make it perfect, it's still going to have some of that. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to add these little extra bits that come apart. We're going to add some pretty little like berry beads. I'm going to stick that in there underneath using my stick. Make sure the end of it is touching something or defeats the purpose. So I got that on there. And then we've got some of this on the other side. Make sure that is also in there where you want it. And maybe one more small leaf or flower. You just kind of look at what you got to work with. I think maybe another small little leaf right about here would be pretty. Added it in there, so some contrast, and I think that's a bit too much. I think one more right there. Right there. Put it in right there. Okay. And you just kind of make sure everything's attached. And there's your pumpkin. Your cute little fall pumpkin. And this would look really cute if you put, I'm going to put a little glue right there. See, it's popping up. This would be really cute if you put like your initial or letter on the front. I've seen lots of different things that you can add to the front of these, but I think it turned out pretty precious. So, hope you like it. And there's the back. All right, time to clean up your mess. All right, thanks. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this pumpkin craft, and that you go try something with your scraps and your things that you have around your room and leftover pieces soon. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me, Crafting with Brandy, and remember, make something today and stay crafty.